Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to another Mechabellum gameplay review. Today I've got a game for you guys where I played against scey and I actually went with a lead specialist. And when I say I went with the lead specialist, it's not because I picked it myself, but I was actually, well, I ran out of time and so the game gave the specialist to me, but I was very happy that happened because it made for an entertaining game to say the very least. So without further ado, let's get into it. Scey here decides to go for supply specialist, starting out with marksman and mustangs, where I have been given elite specialist starting with fangs and stormcallers. Honestly, a pretty good start considering the specialist I got, and considering that I do get a start with chaff. Whenever you start elite specialist without chaff, things become very, very difficult considering how expensive your units are. You have to buy them at level 2, so chaff costs 150, and not having it right off the bat will often mean that you can struggle making sure that there are actually enough units on the board to distract the enemy. So, my opponent, as I said, supply specialist, decides to pick up some extra crawlers alongside the mustangs and the marksman he already had. And in this situation, I decide to pick up an arclight, considering my opponent does have both mustangs, and I knew that he would pick up crawlers as the more likely option. I thought arclights makes the most sense, would be good versus both of those units, and then I just hope that my stormcallers can pull through and deal damage to the marksman, as well as help out with the mustang packs. So let's see how this goes. Both of us, by the way, going for a standard setup, no aggressive shenanigans. Right side losing, but stormcallers were actually able to do good damage there to the pack of mustangs, almost taking out all of them before dying. And even though the tower goes down with the debuff now wearing off, this should be relatively good for us. We're able to take down the couple crawlers in the left. The arclight does go down, but entire pack of stormcallers able to deal with the final marksman, and so we take a first round here. Very, very good for us, considering our specialist gets better and better the later game goes, but can struggle early on because of loss of tempo due to the fact that you often cannot buy enough units or they're simply too expensive. So being able to save ourselves some hit points early on here, very, very good. Scey decides to go for missile strike. In this situation, I was thinking missile strike, intensive training. In the end, I go for missile strike as well. The reason is I thought I wouldn't have that much benefit from intensive training. I'm already buying all my units at level 2, so that should be enough. And missile strike gives me, again, a bit of a breather in the early game. And then I think this ability in itself should carry me in the late game. So that is why I decided to pick this. Assault Fangs could have been okay, but I'm not really looking to go for carry Fangs. The additional speed can sometimes be beneficial to help dodge some of the missiles, but again, missile strike so early on, you'll able to use it for plenty of rounds as the game goes longer, and it's just great value. So I decided to put it here on the right side, I think, or on the left side. Yes. Just taking out one pack of mustangs will help tremendously. My opponent going for the same thing, trying to get rid of my pack of stormcallers and hit some of the fangs. And I decide to buy a pack of mustangs as well as another arclight. Carry arclights and carry mustangs are both very, very strong options for elite spec, because these units benefit from additional levels. And so the fact that you can buy them already at level 2 is usually something that makes a big difference. So on this side you can already see the level 2 mustangs are completely obliterating the enemy level 1 mustangs. However, opponent did pick up stormcallers that very round, and it seems like that is doing relatively well for him. Able to take out all of my left side. One mustang left alive here. But we'll have to see how this works out with the stormcallers. Only one Stormcaller left, and with the tower debuff, that should spell the end of the round. Oh, actually, it's a draw. I was going to say in scey's favor, but Stormcaller there able to take out the marksman just in time. So in this situation, probably haste module the best option to take. Haste module very good on mustangs, and considering I already have some that are level 2, that would make the most sense. It's also a very cheap option. Giant Hunter, I wasn't expecting scey to go for giants. He's not necessarily he's not like giant specialist. In that case, I think taking it preemptively would be okay, but here it doesn't make sense. So haste modules should be the pick. Opponent going for the same thing, picks up more mustangs all the way in the back with the haste module. Putting them all the way in the back because they do also get the increased speed. So they just making sure that they arrive around the same time on the battlefield as the regular mustangs. Indeed, I do decide to pick up the haste module as well. Now completing the symmetry of the board with another pack of mustangs on the left and picking up a third pack as I am starting to create a solid backline of chaff clear alongside my arc lights, and the Stormcallers can help out a little bit as well. Enemy though picking up more Stormcallers, and they are doing work right now, absolutely annihilating my mustangs that do not have the range upgrade. Which means that he's able to take the third round here, as I take the first damage of the game. In this situation, I immediately see the subsidized Stormcaller card, and scey, same thing. Seems like the best option. None of us are really doing anything that would benefit from taking these cards. Super heavy armor, I haven't been picking at all lately. It's just so expensive, even though it has its uses on things like high level rhinos or even melting points in fortresses, but this early on it's too expensive and I don't have any unit that can benefit from it. So subsidized Stormcaller seems like the play. Opponent went with the same idea, so also unlocking more Stormcallers here. Already has 5 of them. And at this stage, in the back of my mind, whenever I see this many Stormcallers, you already start to thinking about war factories with missile interception. I also saw that scey doesn't have any electromagnetic on these units. No electromagnetic on the Stormcallers. No electromagnetic on the marksman. So in the future, that could be very good for me. Now, what I did do, instead of... I didn't immediately pick up more Stormcallers. I took another pack of Mustangs and I gave them range. Reason why I did this is because I believe it gives the Mustangs way more survivability. 1 against the enemy Stangs if they don't have range, and 2 against the Stormcallers because other units can get in front of them and basically... well, distract the Stormcaller fire. And I have a couple of... I also picked up a pack of Crawlers, which of course are level 2 as well, all the way in the back. And they were able to somehow make it through there and take out the Stormcallers as I take round number 4. Now on round number 5, we are offered... Again, Giant Hunter pops up, but I feel like scey isn't going for mass giant units. Incendiary Bomb could definitely be quite good. So that's what scey decides to go for. Missile Strike is also off cooldown again, but I decide to skip. I'm not sure if this is the right play. I could have gone for the fire. It definitely would have gotten some value, but in those situations, I just prefer like keeping the 100 to myself as elite and trying to invest into my board. Now with the Missile Strike off cooldown again, I'm thinking about using bubbles in order to save my units. Also, finally picking up more Stormcallers using my subsidized Stormcaller card. I still have 250 left in the bank after these two, and I was thinking, you know, if he goes for Missile Strike, he probably will use it on this pack because it's the strongest pack of Mustangs, having the item. So why not invest into more shields? It is risky. It is very risky to do that. 400 into shields for a turn is expensive, but if it survives, if the shields survive, it's worthwhile. And actually this works out perfectly for me. Scey decided to go for the fire in the back, and so everything gets blocked. I went for the Missile Strike on the right, taking out both a pack of Stormcallers and a pack of Stangs, so quite valuable. And my opponent actually bought a Vulcan on the right side as well. So I guess expecting... Well, I already had 4 packs of Mustangs. Maybe was expecting even more. Just trying to help out clear those Mustangs. But also, Scey went for the shields there, and we are able to take them out. It looks like our Stormcaller is actually able to survive, take out the enemy Stormcallers, and also take out the Vulcan. Meaning that we do take round number 5 here. And this is a great situation to be in for me. This is a great situation to be in. Still a very, very healthy round number 6. So I'm starting to get more money every round, which means that, you know, my expensive specialist isn't that much of a problem anymore, and it starts to become a real benefit. I also put some crawlers in the front here last turn, by the way, alongside the Stormcallers, trying to distract some of this fire and maybe creating some problems for the enemy crawlers because mine are level 2. Here I decided to go for ranged spec, and Scey goes for the same thing. Both Mustangs and Stormcallers really benefit from this, and none of the other cards that were offered there were necessarily all that good. So this is all sensible. I pick up another pack of crawlers, using them to distract hopefully these 3 packs of Stormcallers if I can. Crawlers in the back have also been upgraded now, by the way, so level 3 already. And high level crawlers get scary, like somehow they manage to survive. They get into nooks and crannies, they start absolutely demolishing your backline. They are scary. More Stormcallers picked up here, as I also am upgrading my Mustang packs now. 2 of them already at level 3. Opponent going for another Vulcan, by the way. But the Vulcans here, not that much of a problem, to be honest. They're doing okay. They're taking out most of the Mustangs, but some of them still stay alive. And they stay alive for long enough that my Stormcallers are able to deal with the Vulcans. Very big and easy targets to hit, so they can't miss. And that just deals huge damage. So we take out the tower, we take out the remaining Stormcallers, and round 6 also goes in my favor, as Scey now drops below 2,500 hit points. None of these cards really seem all that appealing to me. Acid Blast, there isn't... Well, there are some big units, but they're not really creating any issues for me. It's such an expensive card, I don't like it. Same with Vulcan's Descent. Skill Specialist, I mean, I only have 1 skill, so that's not really worth it right now. And Nano Repair Kit, I wouldn't know what to put it on. I don't have a Fortress or a Rhino, so... Seems like skipping is the best option, and Scey agrees with me, also skips. And now we see more Mustangs being purchased with Missile Interceptor. This is an upgrade that used to be taken back when AMs weren't a thing, and some people have been trying to use it ever since the nerf to AMs a patch ago. I haven't seen it that much in my games though, so I was quite surprised when I saw this, and it actually took me a while to notice. So the coming round, I didn't even see it. It was only after the round that is coming that I noticed. And we'll have to see how well this does, because usually it disables your mustangs, so your mustangs just become, well, glorified missile interceptors, really. And so it's a bit of a stalemate. The Stormcallers don't hit anything, but the mustangs also aren't hitting anything except shooting missiles out of the sky. I, on the other hand, I don't run Missile Interceptor. I decide to go for armor-piercing bullets, trying to help out with some of the shields as well as the big units, and just overall do some more damage, considering that I now have level 3 packs of Mustangs all over my board. And I also pick up some Phoenixes here. Same reason, they are relatively good at dealing with big targets, as they are very, very high damage. And they also do good damage to the shields. So that made some sense to me. Of course, it is kind of scary considering I am up against mass Mustangs, and my opponent bought 3 additional packs this turn. I wasn't really expecting that. So we'll have to see if Phoenixes would be the right call to continue with. Still, my Stormcallers now finally able to shoot at the targets and hit the targets that they were aiming for, as all of my opponent's Mustangs have died. And it becomes a Stormcaller on Stormcaller fight. I have 1 Mustang left alive here. Somehow managing to dodge all of the missiles and gets working on the turret. And that looks like the round does belong to me. Tower goes down. And we get rid of the final Stormcaller. So round 7 also goes to me. But the damage isn't the greatest. These rounds have been very, very close up till now. None of us are really doing a lot of damage to one another. And so this game is going long. Both of us here deciding to go for shield device specialist, as we have been making use of the shields quite a lot. And the additional HP on them is really valuable. Missile Strike off cooldown again, by the way. I decided to use it on this pack of Mustangs all the way in the back. They have got an item, and also they're so far back that it's unlikely that Scey would go for a shield this far back. Or at least if he wouldn't shield anything, it probably would be these, because it would only be in order to protect them from a missile strike. And here I decide to go for what I had in mind a couple rounds ago, which is the War Factory. And it is level 2. It is level 2. Because I'm Elite Specialist. So this is a massive investment here. The level 2 War Factory costs 1200. Unlocking it costs 200. That is pretty much my entire round gone. But we'll have to see how it performs. It has fantastic DPS, so it does well against shields, big targets. And it is also able to take out the missiles. The missile interception, by the way, is dependent on the War Factory's attack and level. So, higher level War Factory is better at dealing with missiles. And my opponent actually went for range here on the Vulcans. Range on the marksman as well. So Vulcans trying to take out the War Factory, getting stuck on it for quite some time, and that means that my Mustangs can kind of just stand next to it and dish out some good damage. We're winning the right side, and this guy is now also going down. This is what I mean when I say the War Factory has good DPS, especially at level 2, it hurts. Even level 2 giants like the Vulcan there get kind of melted immediately. And these Mustangs have been doing fantastic this round. Already 82, 83, still climbing. Almost 85,000 damage dealt. Mostly by 3 or 4 that stayed alive thanks to that War Factory tanking. So another round to me, but again, no big damage. really close rounds. Giant Hunter again being offered. This card has been showing up so many times. Both of us decide to go for Electromagnetic Blast instead. Very good to take out or do good damage to shields, which both of us have been using. If we don't use shields, it gets rid of tech that is on there. So especially if my War Factory would get disabled, it would mean no interception. So I will have to shield here. Mustangs have been upgraded now, so level 4 Mustangs. Getting up there. I have also decided to tech into steel ball production to try and create some more chaff, basically, some more problems to deal with for my opponent. And also deciding to take Launcher Overload. The reason I did this is because I was trying to overload, basically, the Missile Interceptor tech on my opponent's Mustangs, so that some of the missiles would land and get rid of some of these shields. Both of us position our Electromagnetic Blasts. I decided to actually move these Mustangs towards the middle. And the reason I did this is because I thought maybe my opponent would use the Incendiary Bomb, which is now off cooldown again on the right side. And so I wanted to make sure that these Mustangs would go at least underneath the shield. But it looks like they might have been fine as the fire gets dropped over here. We'll have to see how well they can survive, these Mustangs. They do have the range. I am getting the enhanced range now. I'm also using the rapid supply. Getting the loan. War Factory, again, it doesn't get disabled because my opponent doesn't have any electromagnetic techs. This is why I went for it. If my opponent had electromagnetic on the Stormcallers, I very well might not have gone for it. Because, well, that would have been a disaster. Finally, it does go down. But we are able to take one of the towers as well. The right side lost. I think most of my Mustangs actually did burn in the fire eventually. And this is looking like a round for Scey as the Vulcan level 2 still alive and kicking. And so finally I take some more damage. And we enter round number 10. Scey decides to go for deployment spec. I decide to skip because I wanted another War Factory. I purchased 2 tech upgrades. So in order to get good value out of it, it only makes sense to buy another War Factory here. It is also level 2. It produces level 2 steel balls because of the way that this interaction works when leveling a War Factory. And I thought they were doing relatively well so far. They were doing good damage. As you can see, second in damage last round. They're making sure that all of these Stormcallers are pretty much missing. Or at least not much of it is landing. And that allows for my Mustangs in the back to DPS. As you can see, this left pack was actually the best performing pack last round. We'll have to see how this turns out. Bubbles again being placed. Range has been taken for both of us. More Stormcallers actually now being purchased. So Scey trying to overload my missile interception tech. And also another Vulcan being purchased alongside Best Partner. So the Vulcans are now spawning a marksman at the start of the round, equal level to the Vulcan. And immediately, War Factories here taking the fire. Vulcans are locking onto them, which means that here on the sides you can see the Mustangs are safe and sound. They do not get targeted, and that means they can just dish out the damage without any problem. And this is a massive round for me. Both of my War Factories stay alive alongside a bunch of other units, which deals the finishing blow and that means I take the win. Round 10, this was a very, very fun game. I thoroughly enjoyed it when I was streaming. It was really cool to see SPEC going for something different here. Mass Stormcallers, trying out the missile interceptor tech, using Vulcans, which honestly are the least used giants at this moment. They usually are kind of bait, and they tend not to work all that well. As you can see here, the way I'd positioned my units, and also probably the way that these units were positioned, they kind of got stuck on the war factories at some point. And with the Stormcallers being disabled, these guys were surviving for a long, long time. At level 2 with 320,000 hit points, they're also very hard to deal with generally. So probably a melting point or two would have made sense instead of more Vulcans, but it was definitely a cool game. I decided not to invest more into Phoenixes after all. This was like a one-turn thing. I was trying to make sure that I could maybe survive a round before I was going into war factories, and eventually that is what it turned into. Mustang war factories and some Stormcallers. I didn't make amazing use of my subsidized Stormcaller card, only buying 3, so not the biggest of values, but still. We were able to take the win. Really cool game. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, comment below what you thought of the game. Have you tried out war factories? What do you think of it? What do you think of Elite SPEC? Subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all my latest content, or check me out on Twitch whenever I'm live. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.